Emmerdale teases for Friday the 18th of July that it will delve into a tangled web of deceit, loyalty, and a quiet, but calculated thirst for revenge. Joe has never been one to seek attention, but recently he finds himself drawn into the dark shadows created by Crowley's manipulations. Coerced and threatened, Joe is forced to act against his better judgment, falling into a plot that threatens everything he has worked to build. Crowley, with his relentless psychological pressure and grip on Joe's weaknesses, manipulates Joe into a daring scheme to siphon money from Kim's business. Joe has never been comfortable with betrayal, and each step of the plan leaves him more and more anxious and broken, until the weight of his conscience can no longer bear it. Cornered by Kim, with questions she delivered with unnerving precision, Joe found himself staring into the abyss of exposure. But instead of evasion, he made a fateful choice. He came clean. Joe confessed to everything. His involvement in the financial scheme, the manipulation he had suffered at Crowley's hands, and the moral anguish that had haunted him every step of the way. What shocked Joe even more was Kim's measured response. Rather than explode with the fury he expected, she responded with something far more unsettling: calm certainty. She had already suspected what Joe was involved in. She even seemed to know about Crowley's methods. More chilling still, Kim revealed she had recently begun seeing a doctor, a man who, upon deeper reflection, Joe recognized as someone with ties to the same underworld in which Crowley operated. Kim, being the formidable businesswoman that she is, had already started connecting the dots long before Joe laid them out. She had been watching. Waiting. For Joe, her insight was both a relief and a threat. She hadn't turned him in. She hadn't screamed. But she had delivered a warning. Joe's actions could have jeopardized the entire company, and while she was sparing him, for now, she wouldn't tolerate further mistakes. Trust, she said, had been fractured, and would not be easily rebuilt. Still, Kim didn't leave Joe in total ruin. She made a promise that surprised him: she would work to recover the stolen money from Crowley. Her plan wasn't based on sentimentality, but on business. Crowley had interfered with her empire, and that was an unforgivable offense. In the days that followed, Joe found himself working harder than ever to regain some semblance of Kim's confidence. He knew she was watching him closely, testing him with every task, every responsibility. And when Kim failed to secure a plot of land from Robert, a move she had calculated for weeks, Joe saw a rare opening. He approached Kim with humility and determination, acknowledging his past failures, but also offering a solution. What if they shifted focus and pursued Moira's farm instead? Kim was hesitant at first. Moira was unpredictable, and that kind of acquisition could stir tension in the community. But Joe argued the potential: location, assets, legacy. Impressed by Joe's initiative, and perhaps curious to see how he would navigate such a delicate negotiation, Kim agreed to let him proceed. It wasn't forgiveness. It was a test. Meanwhile, Crowley's web was beginning to collapse. The very structure of manipulation he had used to corner Joe started to fray when Sean, a loyal foot soldier, or so Crowley believed, turned on him. Sean had been Crowley's muscle, his enforcer. But Sean, perhaps seeing an opportunity, or perhaps growing tired of the toxic loyalty he'd pledged, flipped. He sold Crowley out to Kim, detailing the scheme and confirming every suspicion Kim had held. Crowley, the mastermind of this entire conspiracy, found himself undone by the very tools he had used on others: coercion, secrets, betrayal. And Kim, ever the tactician, used that intel to her advantage. She didn't just neutralize Crowley, she made an example of him. In a calculated move worthy of her reputation, Kim turned Crowley's own chemical weapons, experimental drugs he had developed for control and leverage, against him. No one knew exactly how it happened, only that Crowley was found writhing and humiliated, rendered powerless by the very formula he once used to manipulate others. The business community whispered of Kim's ruthless genius. Crowley, meanwhile, seethed. Though defeated for the moment, he was not finished. Stripped of his immediate influence, Crowley fled into the shadows, but not before swearing revenge. Kim had outplayed him. Joe had betrayed him. And someone would pay. But Crowley knew that going head-to-head with Kim again would be foolish without leverage. Then he remembered Dawn. Dawn had always been Joe's soft spot. She was one of the few people who truly believed in him. Their connection, though complicated, was genuine. Crowley knew that if he could get to her, he could once again control Joe. And if he could control Joe, he might just get another shot at Kim. He began watching from afar, studying her routines, her friends, her weaknesses. For now, he wouldn't strike. He would wait, rebuild his power, and when the time was right, use Dawn as his pawn. Kim wouldn't see it coming, or so he believed. But Kim was never one to let her guard down. If Crowley thought she wouldn't protect those she cared about, he didn't understand her at all. The first act of this intricate drama is only just beginning to unfold.